and welcome to the Movies Past and Present podcast. It's January 10th, 2020, and this is episode 38. I'm your host, Stanford Clark, and I'm podcasting from the crossroads of the West in beautiful Salt Lake City, Utah. Just like my blog, moviespastandpresent.com, I'll be providing recommendations, commentary, and reviews about current and classic cinema. Thanks for tuning in, and let's do this thing. Happy New Year! This is the first podcast of 2020, and we've got some interesting new movies to talk about. So in our new movie Roundup, opening this weekend in wide release is the drama Just Mercy. It's from Warner Brothers. This is directed by Destin Daniel Cretton, and it's based on a true life story as well as the award-winning nonfiction book by author Bryan Stevenson of the same title. Just Mercy tells the story of Bryan Stevenson, who is played by Michael B. Jordan in the film. And Bryan Stevenson graduated from Harvard Law School, and what he decided to do was, rather than take a job with a high-paying law firm or doing some kind of corporate law, he moved to Alabama, and he decided to defend prison inmates wrongly convicted or those who weren't able to afford proper legal representation. So this film talks about one of his early cases where Stevenson defends an innocent man named Walter who's convicted of the murder of an 18-year-old girl. And in the years that follow through this case, Stevenson becomes embroiled in a labyrinth of legal and political maneuverings and overt and unabashed racism as he fights for Walter and other people like him with the odds in the system stacked against them. At least is what the press materials say. This film stars Jamie Foxx as Walter, and then Brie Larson also is in the film, and she works in a law firm. This looks like a powerful story and a good film. I'm excited to see it. Just Mercy is rated PG-13 by the Motion Picture Association for thematic content, including some racial epithets. Next up is Underwater, which is a thriller from 20th Century Fox. Underwater follows a crew of underwater researchers who must scramble to safety after an earthquake devastates their subterranean laboratory and clearly unleashes some horrible monsters or some other kind of scary creature things. So this stars Kristen Stewart and T.J. Miller and Vincent Cassell. And it looks horrible to me. It really looks just like an Alien ripoff. And in the role, I guess Alien Underwater, in the role of Sigourney Weaver is Kristen Stewart. And it just doesn't look good. So Underwater is rated PG-13 for sci-fi action and terror and brief, strong language. Next up is Like a Boss, which is a crude comedy from Paramount Pictures. The press materials say that the world of beauty is about to get ugly. Best friends Mia and Mel, who are played by Tiffany Haddish and Rose Byrne, are living their best lives running their own cosmetic company they built from the ground up. Unfortunately, they're in over their heads financially, and the prospect of a big buyout offer from a notorious titan of the cosmetic industry proves too tempting to pass up. This person who's buying them out the character's name is Claire Luna, and she's played by Salma Hayek. And this buyout then puts Mel and Mia's lifelong friendship in jeopardy. So this looks like again, kind of a gross-out comedy. It's rated R by the Motion Picture Association for language, crude sexual material, and drug use. So yeah, I'm probably going to pass on Like a Boss. Opening in wide release also this weekend, I think really across most of the United States, is the film 1917, which is the World War I epic directed by Sam Mendes. This is from Universal Pictures. This film has been getting universally rave reviews, and I'm really excited to see it now that it's open in the market here. So 1917 is rated R by the Motion Picture Association for violence, some disturbing images, and language. Also, just some films that are still in theaters or had recently opened up either around Christmas or that opened up around Thanksgiving, but are still around that I think you should consider seeing if you haven't seen them yet. Well, including myself, is Little Women, which is the new adaptation of the film directed by Greta Gerwig. I just heard rave reviews about Little Women, so I'm looking forward to seeing it. Hopefully, I can get there this upcoming week. Also, getting great reviews is the film Uncut Gems, starring Adam Sandler. And then I've heard good things, or that it's a very interesting film. It's Bombshell. That's the film about the women who took down Roger Ailes at Fox News. And then, if you haven't seen them yet, still think, go see Knives Out and Frozen 2. So, lots of good films to see that are just, kind of hanging out from the holidays, and that will maybe help us cope with some of these not so great new releases that happened during the month of January. So, just a couple of quick movie reviews for films that are still in theaters. I saw Dark Waters, which is the drama. It's a true to life drama starring Mark Ruffalo, and thought it was terrific. Mark Ruffalo plays a real life attorney named Robert Billett. I'm sorry, I hope I'm saying his name correctly. Robert Billett fought a 20-year legal battle against the DuPont Chemical Company. DuPont, who was, I think, really famous more in our day for making Teflon, that Teflon coating that got put on cooking pans, but they were dumping toxic waste, particularly in West Virginia, where they had a plant. And it was very controversial because, at least with a lot of the people there, because even though animals were dying and there were problems, a lot of these people were employed by DuPont. And so the whistleblowers risked a lot. And that some of that's demonstrated in the film, but really it shows the tenacity of this attorney. And it's really, I thought it was very compelling. It also stars Anne Hathaway, who plays Billett's wife, and Tim Robbins, who plays the senior partner of the law firm where Mark Ruffalo was working, the Mark Ruffalo character. The pacing's good. This is directed by Todd Haynes, and if I were to have any kind of a minor complaint, and it's minor, sometimes I think these stories get a bit melodramatic, and I'm not trying to say that they shouldn't handle these things seriously, but when a lot of information or a lot of events have to get kind of compacted into things just for the film's narrative, sometimes that's just not my favorite. But anyway, highly recommend Dark Waters. I think that was a very good film. Also, and I'm late to the party on this one, I finally saw Parasite, which is a foreign, it's a film that's made in South Korea, and it's directed by Bong Joon-ho, and the print that we're getting here in the U.S. of course is in Korean with English subtitles. This movie was really something. I really can't stop thinking about it. It's a bit of a hybrid as far as genres go, and I think that's one of the things that make it interesting. But really, I think it's the compelling story and just the terrific directing and editing. But it's part comedy, part family drama, part social. Kind of social drama or a study on economic disparity between the classes, and then it turns out really into kind of a full-on horror film during the third act of the film. So, I really hate horror films, and and so that part wasn't necessarily my favorite, but it all really works together, and all the stuff that happens is relevant to the story. The premise of the story is that there is a very poor family, so mother, father, and then two college age children, a boy and a girl, and they are really kind of living a hand to mouth existence, struggling to get by. But they're smart and capable. It's just life happens, right? And anyway, they're in rough shape. One of the boys' friends from school, who's got money and he's in college. He's been tutoring a young woman in English, and he's going to go on some kind of a study abroad, or he's going to leave the country for a while, and he trusts his friend and asks if he would take over for him, and so the poor boy, I guess we'll call him, goes to this family, and he starts tutoring this girl. So this family, they're incredibly wealthy. It's a mom, dad, and then a boy and a girl. Also, the kids are younger. The girl's she's high school age, and then the boy's a little younger. Turns out that the little boy in this rich family, he's got some issues himself, and he wants to maybe do it like an art class or something. So the sister disguises herself as kind of like this art psychologist person, and she is able to come into the household and start like tutoring this little boy, and then both the mom and so they figure out they calculate a way to get rid of the maid in the house, and so the poor mom comes in and is the maid. Then they figure out a way to get rid of the driver, and so anyway, the dad then becomes the family's chauffeur. So anyway, all four of this poor family now are working for this rich family, and then some bad stuff really starts to go down, and that's I'm not going to give that away, but it's an incredibly well made film. I expect it to take probably a lot of awards, foreign film awards and other things, of course, because it's really something. I know I've talked to friends who have said that this is one of their favorite films from 2019, and I was just really impressed with it. I was late to the party again, but if you get a chance, I know that it's been playing in some more theaters. I think they've added some screens as people are talking about this film more, particularly around award season. So it's definitely rated R. Lots of gore, lots of violence, and scary stuff. So beware of that. So I can't say necessarily I fully recommend it because of that, but if that's something you think you can handle, definitely check out Parasite. Well, now that we're in 2020, I'm looking forward to, of course, some new movies. We can see what the new movies that are coming out for the year. And, of course, there are a bunch. I think I saw one website that was documenting like 66 new movies that are, new kind of Hollywood studio release type films that are coming out in 2020. And I've looked at Rotten Tomatoes and some other sites. So I've narrowed my list down to my top 15 films that I'm looking forward to seeing in 2020. I put these on the podcast notes in my blog, just in case you want to refer them. And if there is a preview or a trailer for one of these films, I put a link to it. Some of these films that are coming out later in the year, their marketing campaigns really haven't started yet. But I put some links either to like a Facebook page or something where hopefully you can get some more information when it becomes available. So here are 15 movies I'm looking forward to seeing. First up is the film Downhill. Downhill is It's also been accepted. It's going to be played at the Sundance Film Festival starting this month here in Utah. And often some of these Sundance films aren't necessarily my cup of joe, but this one looks interesting. So this is a comedy drama that stars Will Ferrell and Julia Louis-Dreyfus, and it looks like they're a couple that are having issues. But it's set within the context of a ski vacation, and I mean, they kind of had me at those two actors really, since they're both so great. The trailer looks interesting. Again, I put a link to it out on the blog. So there's Downhill. Downhill, as I mentioned, is opening at Sundance, and then it's going to be in theaters on Valentine's Day, February 14th, 2020. Maybe kind of counter programming for Valentine's Day, particularly if it's about a relationship falling apart. But it sure looks interesting. Next up is The Call of the Wild. So this is an adaptation of the Jack London book, and it stars Harrison Ford. So again, it had me at Harrison Ford. It looks really interesting to me. This is a book I remember really enjoying as a child, and I can't say I've seen any film adaptation of it before. I might have, but again, it's one of those man versus nature movies. And sometimes those aren't my favorite, but still, Harrison Ford and a new adaptation of a Jack London book. I think it looks appealing. So, The Call of the Wild opens in theaters on February 21st. Number 3 is a Pixar Animation Studios film, and it's called Onward. Now, Pixar actually is releasing 2 films this year in theaters, and I just have to say that, yes, please, and I'm thrilled. Onward is the first one. It opens on March 6th. But Onward, if you've not seen the trailers, it's set in a fantasy world where there are elves and unicorns and gnomes and all these different kind of magical creatures, and this world has become very gentrified, or they're living in the suburbs and it looks like the magicians at Pixar have done a really great job of creating a very interesting looking environment to set up the story of this film. But it's about a family, a mother and 2 boys. The mother, speaking of Julia Louis-Dreyfus, she voices the mother in this film, and then the 2 boys. The older brother is voiced by Chris Pratt. Younger one is by Tom Holland. And their father passed away. And given that it's this magical world, when the youngest son, I believe he's turning 16, when he turns 16, the mom brings out this message that the dad had given them, and it's basically this magical staff and a way to bring the dad back to life for 24 hours. And they start this process, and something goes wrong, and they've got to try to make things right within 24 hours, and hopefully they get to see their dad. So it looks really inventive. It's one of those that could be super weird and maybe not good, but typically Pixar does really well with kind of these high concept films, and I'm really excited to see it. So again, Onward opens on March 6th. Number 4 is the new James Bond film, which is called No Time to Die. It is the first James Bond film we've had in a while. I think it's been 5 years. And starring Daniel Craig one more time. I think he's saying this truly is his swan song. Rami Malek is in it. He's playing the villain. It just looks like a James Bond film, and I typically really enjoy those. So if you like James Bond, get excited. No Time to Die opens up on April 8th. Jumping now into May for my film number 5 is a Marvel Studios film. This is Black Widow. So starring Scarlett Johansson. Now you may ask yourself, have you seen these Avengers movies, particularly Avengers Endgame? Didn't Black Widow kind of kick it in Avengers Endgame? Sorry, spoiler alert. But this is going to be a bit of a prequel, and telling about her backstory, about how she became kind of the vicious Russian assassin, and again, we're going to see. It looks like she's got this interesting Russian family. She's got a sister. Then I don't know if this is like a kind of a Russian version of the Avengers. Rachel Weisz is in it. And then David Harbour's in it, and he's playing like this Russian version of Captain America. I mean, if you've seen the trailers, and I put a link to the trailer, but it's this red and white costume. Anyway, it's kind of, you got to see it to believe it. But Black Widow looks like it's got some potential to be another one of those really cool and really entertaining films from Marvel Studios, and it'll be great to see Scarlett Johansson again in a role, which I think she's played really well. So Black Widow opens up on May 1st. Okay, my number 6 pick, and I gotta tell you, I mean, I'm putting this on with reservations, but it's Fast and Furious 9, if you can believe. This is the 9th film in this particular series, not to mention some of these other, spin-off things or whatever they have. Now, I don't think that there's really been a good Fast and Furious film since number 5. I haven't liked these last 3. Not to mention that Hobbs and Shaw spinoff, which I thought was dreadful. So, but Justin Lin, who was the director of number 5, and I think he's directed a few, and I think he's the best director so far in this franchise, really. So, we'll see. I mean, it's cars and explosions, and sometimes they're really fun, and other times, for me, it's just really groan-worthy, and I just roll my eyes. So, I'm hoping this is more in that former category, that it's going to be entertaining. We'll see. So, I'm skeptical, but I did put it on my list because it's on my radar. So, Fast and Furious 9 opens May 22nd. All right, next one, number 7 is back to Pixar Animation Studios again. This is their second film they're releasing in 2020, and it's called Soul. Now, Soul, again, I put the trailer out there on in the podcast notes. It's another one of those really heady films. This is directed by Pete Docter, who is the current chief creative officer at Pixar Animation Studios, and he's directed some of the best films that Pixar's done. He directed Monsters, Inc., he directed Up and Inside Out. So he knows how to do kind of a trippy film and make it emotionally resonant and really good. But Soul to me reminds me of kind of like Heaven Can Wait, or Here Comes Mr. Jordan is the older version of it, but where somebody dies prematurely, his soul goes into heaven, basically, or just a realm of souls. But he because he died prematurely, they're trying to get his soul back into where it needs to go. It could be completely different from that, but that's really what the setup looks like to me. So there's a jazz piano player who's voiced by Jamie Foxx, and it looks like he meets an untimely death on his way to a big important gig. And so he goes into the realm of souls. Tina Fey voices one of these souls who he's dealing with. And again, we don't know anything really about who she is or what her deal is. But anyway, Soul looks like it's really going to be interesting. And I really think it's going to be an exploration of the human soul. Where do we get our personalities? Or at least, according to the magicians at Pixar. And it looks really interesting. I think it looks terrific. So Soul opens on June 19th. Next is a musical. Now, after just the absolute debacle of Cats this past Christmas, you wonder if Hollywood's going to get the jitters again about making a musical. Thankfully, there are a couple that have already are in the works or have been filmed. So this is one of them. This is a film adaptation of In the Heights, which was a Broadway hit, written by the great Lin-Manuel Miranda. This is the one that really brought him to fame, and then he went off and wrote Hamilton, kind of his magnum opus. But In the Heights, I have never seen the play. I've only heard the music, which is delightful. But it's set in New York City, in a Puerto Rican neighborhood, and this film looks promising. So let's hope it's going to be a good film adaptation of a musical rather than a bad one. In the Heights opens on June 26th. All right, so my number 9 pick is Free Guy. And you're probably wondering, what the heck, Sam? But Free Guy just basically had me at its trailer. This is a movie that stars Ryan Reynolds, and it could be just a really horrible and stupid comedy. But the trailer is so spot on. You got to watch the trailer, particularly if you feel the way about these Disney remakes the way I do. So Free Guy is actually made by 20th Century Fox, whose parent company is now, of course, the Walt Disney Company. But anyway, go watch that Free Guy trailer. I've got a link to it on the podcast notes. Or, of course, you can just find it on YouTube, too. But it looks like it's kind of a video game type of movie or type of alternate reality movie. And, again, it could be really stupid, but the trailer was brilliant, and it could be a lot of fun. Number 10. Of the 15 films I'm really excited about for 2020 is another Ghostbusters movie. Now, this one's called Ghostbusters Afterlife, and it's directed by Jason Reitman, who is the son of Ivan Reitman, who directed the original Ghostbusters in the 80s. And this trailer looks interesting. Looks like there's some supernatural activity happening in the Midwest of the United States. Don't know exactly who's in it. I don't really know much about the plot. But it looks really interesting, and it looks to be like a continuation of the original Ghostbusters films, rather than necessarily a reboot like that one that was done 2 or 3 years ago that had the female cast in it. That was more of a remake than a continuation of the story. So I'm really intrigued by Ghostbusters Afterlife. And let's hope it's going to be a fun addition to this series. So that opens on July 10th. Next up is kind of a mysterious film called Tenet. And perhaps you've seen some trailers for this if you've seen any movies. I saw, when I went to see Star Wars, The Rise of Skywalker in IMAX, they showed like a full-on IMAX trailer for, it was like 3 or 4 minutes of the film, looked like maybe even like the opening sequence. And this is like a sci-fi adventure film or action film from Christopher Nolan, and it looks very Christopher Nolan-esque. It's full of mystery and weirdness, but incredible filmmaking and attention to detail. So I honestly don't know much about it other than it's directed by Christopher Nolan. I saw a few minutes of it. I really didn't know what was going on, but it looks really interesting. So Tenet opens up on July 17th. Number 12 is another Marvel Studios film, and this is their second film. They're doing 2 films this year. This one is called Eternals, and I don't know a lot about it other than it's got a really big cast. I don't know anything about this. I've never read a comic about the Eternals. So I just know, I think it's something kind of supernatural or set in outer space. I mean, hello, it's a superhero movie, but it looks really interesting, and I'm sure we'll learn more when Black Widow comes out in May. But Eternals opens up on November 6th. Then we've got Raya and the Last Dragon, which is the next film from Walt Disney Animation Studios. And it is their animated feature of the year. And they're opening up around Thanksgiving time. This opens up on November 25th, which is kind of the sweet spot for Walt Disney Animation Studios. Disney showed some clips of this at the D23 Expo convention last summer, and I don't know much about it. I mean, they haven't released much about it, but it looks really interesting. This is based on a story that's written by the author who wrote Crazy Rich Asians, and it's set in Southeast Asia. And Raya is a female character. We saw some concept art of her, and then this last dragon. It's a dragon who also turns into kind of an old woman. She's being voiced by Aquafina, and so that's about all I know. Because it's Walt Disney Animation Studios, it's on my list, and hopefully it's going to be good. So again, that opens up Thanksgiving, November, Thanksgiving weekend on November 25th. Okay, my number 14 pick is another version of Dune. Now, Dune, as you probably know, is a novel written in 1965 by Frank Herbert. It's a beloved sci-fi novel. I know I've got friends who read a lot of sci-fi, and Dune is kind of like their benchmark. I mean, it's just one of their all-time favorite books. Truth be told, I've never read the book Dune, so sorry. But I have seen the original Dune movie that came out in the 80s, and it's really weird. I don't know if you've seen that one. I don't, and I think actually a lot of people don't really like that Dune film. That 1980s one. But this film, it's directed by Denis Villeneuve, and it's the first of a planned 2-part film series. So we'll see how that works, and I guess we'll see if it makes money and people like it. But it's got an interesting ensemble cast with Timothée Chalamet, Rebecca Ferguson, Oscar Isaac, Josh Brolin, Stellan Skarsgård, Dave Bautista, Zendaya is in it, and Jason Momoa, and also Javier Bardem. I mean, it's really got this interesting and big cast, and I think it's being made by Warner Brothers. I think they're putting a lot of money into it. So, and it's coming out in Christmas season 2020. So let's hope that Dune, this is actually going to do the book justice. I'll hope for my friend's sake who really love this book that they're going to be happy with this adaptation, and maybe it'll get me to finally read the book. But Dune opens on December 18th. Then also opening on December 18th, and it's the final film in my list here, is a remake of West Side Story. It's directed by Steven Spielberg, and I'm just fascinated by this. I think West Side Story is one of contains some of the most beautiful music ever written for the Broadway stage. And I hate to talk in such superlatives because I know there's so much wonderful music, but I just think West Side Story is particularly sublime, and I'm just super excited about this. It's Steven Spielberg's first musical. I think it's a bit audacious that he's doing, remaking such a beloved film property such as this one. But let's just hope it's going to be good. I don't know a lot about it. I've seen like a kind of a cast photo that's been put out on the internet. The woman playing Maria, her name is Rachel Zegler. I know she's got a YouTube channel where she sings in the Girls Got Pipes. So I'm excited about that. Rita Moreno, who starred in the film version in the 60s, she's in it, and I think that that she's playing like the store owner role in this film. But again, we'll see what happens. But I can't wait. I think this has got incredibly potential. I mean, what an interesting film. And again, I like Steven Spielberg so much, and so I'm very excited about it. And of course, as I mentioned, love West Side Story. So that opens on December 18th as well, as I mentioned. So those are 15 movies I'm really excited about in 2020, and would love to hear what you're excited about too. So a lot of good movies to look forward to, and it'll be fun to see what's what's good and what's out there, what's maybe some things will sneak in that necessarily weren't on all of our radars, but that's what makes it fun, right? So lots of good stuff to look forward to. Well, that does it for this episode of the Movies Past and Present podcast. Again, links and more information about all of the movies discussed in today's podcast can be found in the podcast notes on my blog at moviespastandpresent.com. As always, I hope you'll enjoy some good movies this week, whether they be from the past or the present. Until next time, thanks for listening, and see you at the movies.
Bye.